views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, and welcome to Open BXRX Tuesday, a weekly program providing you the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place locally here in the Bronx and virtually. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and today is Tuesday, June 1st. Coming up, we'll learn about Antoni-A, an impactful LGBTQ plus short film with the goal of highlighting transgender awareness. Then, the 2021 primary elections will be taking place on June 22nd here in New York City. Stay tuned to find out what you need to know with AARP New York. After that, REDi Dance Company joins us to share the power of movement and dance through this pandemic, and they also invite us to their upcoming 2021 benefit. And we'll learn about Plurawl, a platform redefining professionalism by empowering authenticity within Latinx communities. So please stick around. Open BXRX Tuesday starts now. Welcome to Open BXRX Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. June is LGBTQ plus Pride Month. The community is celebrated and highlighted through gatherings and rainbow flag solidarity, but also through film. Antoni-A is a film seeking to bring transgender awareness to the big screen. Joining us now to share more is Miguel Miller, director and writer of Antoni-A. Welcome, Miguel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Sonyi.
Of course. So to start, can you tell us a little bit about your film, Antoni-A?
Antoni-A is a film made out of pretty much the heart of all of us. It was a passion project. I didn't think I was going to be able to make this film, and I wrote the script. I thought I was going to be done with it, and I never thought I was going to be able to find the support behind this film because it was a little bit in your nose, right on your face in terms of what I wanted to say. And I sent it for coverage, and it came back amazing. So what we did was I got one person behind it, and then all of a sudden everybody was to support the film, and most people that really wanted to help us tell the story. So it formed that way, and then we started building a small platform and a small group of people that will support us. Once we were able to get it all done, we shot the film pretty much out of the kindness of our heart. Everybody worked there for free. Even the actors were working on a deferred contract.
Oh, wow.
So once it was done, we were super excited and ready to release it. Didn't think it was going to go very far. We still did a platform for a festival round, and the festival round was amazing. We were able to get 18 selections on different international film festivals, and out of those 18, we won. Thank you. We won 8 of those. So we're like, whoa! And every time we show it to people, they were very open-minded. They were surprised that we were able to convey and translate this amazing story, the story of Antoni-A. It happened to be a male stripper crossdresser that is being interrogated for the death of a client. Along the way, we get to find out why she's being interrogated and how she landed there. We had to go into her past. So it's a pretty much contrast between this trans person, Antoni-A, and a detective. One first wanting to do her job, and then end up being relating to this woman's pain and this woman's suffering through her life.
Wow.
I think I remained within those 2 minutes. Was I
Yes,
speaking too fast?
No, thank you for sharing more about it, Miguel. It sounds like an incredibly impactful story, especially for the community. How did you conceptualize the idea, and why was it important for you as a filmmaker to raise transgender awareness with this film?
It all came as a dream. Most of my films are a dream, and I dream them. Then I wake up and I write a little bit more, and then I write a little bit more, and then I write a little bit more until it's all conceptualized, until it's all a real living person to me. the whole telling the story of this transgender community was something that I had this passion to do for a long time. I had some friends that were trans, and I felt so much love for them. During the research of this film, I come to find out a whole lot more about the community, things that I didn't know. So let's say if my level of knowledge in terms of the trans community was here, while researching through this film, it went all the way up to here. I was able to find out the difference between one community and the other, how tight they are, their sufferings. I just found out this month that in the US alone, there's been 20 trans people that have been killed through lack of knowledge. So that's why it's so important. We need to bring awareness to people and know that this film is a story like anybody else's story. And that's why I portrayed it that way. I portrayed it as a murder investigation, and it just happened to be a trans person. But it's a murder investigation of a person that killed a client that was pretty much left in a situation that pushed almost into a situation because she was not understood, loved, and respected by early on in her life. So
Well,
that's
and,
in a
we do
nutshell how it came out.
we do have a few behind the scenes shots to share with our viewers. What are some of the challenges that you face with the creation of this film, Miguel, if you can share?
The first one was the main actor. I hired somebody, I casted somebody who was really into the piece, and he couldn't make it. He couldn't travel. He was actually coming from another country, and he was not able to make it. So I hired or casted Johnny Atrocity, which now plays the character of Antoni-A, very last minute, literally a week prior. And that was incredible. I didn't think this guy was going to make it. I thought, oh, this guy is, first of all, he was straight guy. He's a straight person. So he came through in an incredible way. But I think the biggest challenge was casting young Antoni. He needed to be between 7 and 10. And being a trans movie, oh my gosh, we couldn't find those actors at all. So I put it behind, I put it to the side, and I said, we're going to shoot principal photography and then concentrate on that when the moment comes. When this kid came to audition, I was blown away. I said, oh my gosh. And I spoke the topic to the parents, and the parent was like, we're behind this topic 150%.
Wow.
We support this community. We want to be it. So it was like an orgasmic experience for me to be able to have that type of parents behind a project when we're trying to bring awareness and we want to point out to parents something that is happening. So that was the hardest part of the film, became the most inspired part of the film. Now, there's the second part of that question. It was how to direct that part, kid interaction, and show it as love instead of being graphic. It's very touchy when you are directing kids.
Right.
So what I had to do was create a story behind the story to tell these kids, well, this is what I want you to convey physically, and see if the camera captures it, and have the parents there, because by law we need to have the parents literally a few feet away, and the time of shooting and all that stuff was challenging, but it was mostly trying to direct the kids to express love, anger, and hate, but not really. That was challenging. That was interesting, but it worked out amazing. And then I think I'm sending myself a bit, but that part of the film, conveying the kids of the kids, was also a process. I early on in my career, early on in my life, actually, I seen a painting that was very inspirational. And when that one day we were sitting in the couch and it came to me. I remember how I felt when I saw that painting, and I was able to pay homage to René Magritte through this movie as well. So
wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. A lot of the inspiration that went into some of those shots and some of those decisions as a filmmaker. So unfortunately, the film did receive various negative hate comments against the LGBTQ community online, which is very disappointing and sad. Can you tell us about this, Miguel, and how you felt, receiving this type of feedback online?
It's heartbreaking. I don't know any other way to describe it. My producers first saw it, and the person that was handling PR saw it, and they were broken. And I told them before reading anything, I said, please don't feel that way. We know what we're trying to do. We know how we're trying to do this. We know we're trying to empower people. This is not a hate film. This is actually a love film. So until I read it, and then I went and read some of those horrible things that were said there about our movie and about the trans community overall. Most of these people that wrote there, what they wrote there, they haven't seen the film. It was just hate from like a place that I haven't felt before. It was really, really horrible hate. I felt destroyed. I felt devastated. And my first reaction was to answer back. And I was advised not to. I was advised to just concentrate on the positive, concentrate on what we're trying to do and the message of this film, which is empower the trans community and every community out there that is not being received or respected. So that's what I'm trying to do. But it's very difficult to read those things. I cannot even bring them up to say some of the comments that are said about us. They're referring to us as not being human, as not being worthy of living. That's how horrible those comments are. And I always tell this, and I will never stop. My movies are like my children's. Imagine you have a child and somebody is destroying it that way, somebody is bashing it that way. You feel that you out of breath. You feel that you want to protect it. And I don't know, it brings me to a sad place when I think about how much hate is in that page. I stopped reading it. I couldn't read it anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to talk about it, and we decided not to show the comments either here on our show. But it goes to show how important a film like this is, to kind of raise awareness and teach people that don't know otherwise about the community and about the transgender community in particular. So I think the fact that you have this child is important to bring to this world, Miguel. So thank you. What do you want, with that being said, what do you want people to take away the most from watching Antoni-A?
What I want people to take from this film is respect, tolerance, and acceptance. A lot of times we don't understand things. A lot of times we can't see them. We can't see and understand what is in front of us. But if you learn to respect it, you are in our line of work. We will see people that by looking at them, we want to outcast them. Yeah. We will see things that by hearing them, and we want to dismiss them. But if you outcast them, you will not learn anything. If you dismiss them, you might deprive yourself from the opportunity to have a wonderful experience. Welcome, Antoni-A. Antoni-A might teach you something. Antoni-A might teach you tolerance, it might teach you respect, it might teach you appreciation for others, especially the trans community, the community that has suffered so much for so long. And it's been misunderstood for so many centuries. And most of them are really loving, caring human beings.
Yes.
And that's what I want to leave behind. I want you to see this movie and see Antoni-A. And in Antoni-A, I would like you to see your sister, your brother, your son, your nephew, your priest, your police officer. I want you to see that person next to you. When you finish watching our movie, I want you to feel that way. That it's somebody next to you. They go through the same tribulations, the same problems, the same misunderstanding in life. And because you don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So it should be wiped out or wiped out of existence.
Right. Thank you so much, Miguel, for joining us today. I wish we had more time, but we do have to wrap the show up. We appreciate you, and I'm going to share the link, with our viewers now. It's Antoni-A, Antoni-A.com to support the film. You can also donate for the film to, get more accolades on Antoni-A.com/donate. Just find out more again about the film by following them on Instagram at Antoni-A Short Film and Facebook at Antoni-A. Thank you so much again, Miguel, for your time today.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Of course. And, thank you for leaving us with that very important message, especially today on Pride Month, the start of Pride Month, June 1st, here in America. So thank you again, Miguel. We'll be right back here on Open BXRX Tuesday.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
Reporting from BronxNet, this is Trans.
Welcome back. We are now just a few weeks away from the 2021 primary election, taking place on June 22nd here in New York City. There are a lot of open seats across the city and a lot to find out about this important race. AARP is providing access to information about the races in your neighborhood. Joining us now to share more about the upcoming primary election is Beth Finkel, State Director of AARP NY. Welcome, Beth. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here. It's a big election.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we have a lot of important information to discuss. No, so thank you. So as we shared, June 22nd is primary election day. Can you share why this election is so important for New York City?
It's hugely important. After this election, we are going to have almost a whole new government in New York City. Mayor, controller, public advocate, and in the city council, 75% of the seats on the New York City Council will be new council members. So this is such a wonderful opportunity for all New Yorkers to get out and vote and to share what's most important to them. The candidates you choose will reflect what's most important to you as you vote. And as I say that, I have to say this part a little sadly. We did some research on the last time there was an open mayoral primary vote in New York, which was back in 2013. That's when de Blasio won the primary.
Right.
And we did some research. Who voted in that election? 75% of the people who voted in that election were 50 years or older, 75%. That's why the information that we share on what 50 plus voters think, and by the way, there are 750,000 AARP members in the 5 boroughs, their vote really counts. That's why we're calling this 50 plus voters count, because they really do. They are the most reliable segment.
Oh, absolutely. 75% is a huge percentage of our voters here in New York City in particular. So thank you for sharing that, Beth. Can we just go back to what the races are in this election? So you did mention a few of them. Can we go through the entire list just so that our viewers are familiar with what races are going to be about?
Sure. You've got the mayor. Mm-hmm. You've got the controller. You've got the public advocate. You also have the Manhattan DA, but that won't be in the Bronx. That will only be for Manhattanites. And as I said before, 75% of the city council races will not be incumbents. They'll be brand new people. So that's really important. The direction of New York City is really at a crucial point.
Right. And when we're considering, some of the challenges that 50 plus voters face, what are those challenges, especially during this pandemic, Beth?
Well, I think many of us are seeing a lot of ageism on the rise. And during the pandemic, when so many people lost their jobs or were scaled back, the 50 plus felt it in a very significant way. And we know that when the 50 plus lose their jobs, it's much harder for them to get back into the workplace. Another area of concern is isolation. I think all of us have looked at our friends and our neighbors and loved ones and the terrible burden of isolation that was on them because of the pandemic. And finally, food insecurity. And again, I think we all know about this. People in the Bronx know about this, that, people were really struggling to keep food on the table. And the city put up a valiant effort, and local community groups were just amazing at getting the food out. But still, people really struggled with food insecurity.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of movements have been happening, to help the community with food insecurity. And, it's something that has been exacerbated during the pandemic, something that our communities were already faced with prior. So I do understand that AARP did conduct a survey to collect some of the issues that voters 50 plus are concerned about in upcoming elections. Can you share those with us, Beth?
Sure. I'm not going to give you Bronx specific numbers, although we had New York City numbers. This is BronxNet. We want to give you the Bronx numbers.
Thank you.
So crime, 71% of people in the Bronx that we polled of 50 plus voters said they were very worried about crime. Number one issue. Number two issue, affordable housing. Again, not surprising at all. Number three was just affordability in general. And I think a lot of New Yorkers, actually, I think a lot of Americans are starting to worry about affordability in general. And then finally, disparities, racial and ethnic disparities. 59% of Bronx voters, 50 plus, said that they were very concerned about that. I would also, just one more thing I want to say, we looked at who was ahead in the race, and we looked at rankings, and of course this was a month or 6 weeks ago. And actually, it's interesting, the New York Times today had in it that our poll was one of the few independent, reliable polls that came out. We did it with Siena, which is a really well-known polling organization. But the point I want to make about this is, we're talking about the issues. Not everybody has made up their mind who they plan to vote for mayor. And I think it's really important. From our data, 26% of Democrats are still undecided, and 44% of Republicans are undecided about who they're going to vote for in the mayoral primaries. That's really important. And I think the candidates know that. And that's why they're out there hitting the pavement right now. So, and, people sometimes change their minds too. New things come to light. So. It's an important time.
Yes, and it's very important to note that these races are very packed. The mayoral race started with over 30 candidates, and now we've kind of narrowed it down a bit. But there are a lot of candidates to learn about, and I want to share with our viewers that AARP is seeking to bridge the voter education and information gap. Beth, can you share some of those ways that you're seeking to outreach to the community?
Oh, absolutely. So, of course, our website, which I know you put up before, I'm going to say it again and probably say it more than once. This is where you can get everything. And that's at www.aarp.org/votersnyc. I know it's at the bottom of your screen, but I'm going to say it again. www.aarp.org/Voters NYC. So on there, you're going to be able to see questions that we ask the candidates. We're also going to be sponsoring a lot of debates and forums. There's information about basic deadlines around voting. People need to know that the primary early voting actually starts on June 10th. So if you have made up your mind, it will be, our early voting will be available from June 10th to June 20th. And also, any registered voter can request a mail-in absentee ballot and vote safely from home here in New York, which is really important. The general election, I know, as you've said, is the primary is on June 22nd, and Red Letter Day, November 2nd, is the full election. So that's that. And then I don't know if you ranked choice voting, which is
yes.
whoa, brand new this year. Right?
Yes, let's talk about ranked choice voting. So there are a few must-knows for this primary election, and if you can just help us share, more information on that, Beth, it would be very helpful.
So ranked choice voting, which also is known as RCV, for those of you who like those shortened forms. So ranked choice voting, RCV, is very important because you'll be able to rank your top 5 choices we've never had a chance to do before. So when you get your ballot, you're going to see it's clearly marked. You check the box for your number 1 choice. You check the box for your number 2 choice. You check the box for number 3, etc., number 4, and number 5. And the reason for that is that if the number 1 choice doesn't get over 50% of the vote, they will then tabulate across the board that second line of second choices. And it could validate the first choice, but it could be somebody else entirely who everybody else said, this is my favorite choice as number 2. And et cetera. That's going to keep going down. Now, the odds are that's not going to happen, but it certainly could happen. I have to say it probably all eyes will be on the New York City election this year because people are really curious how that might work. And I think in city council races, you're going to see it play out in a lot of really dramatic ways.
Oh.
Right? But Absolutely. That means the voters have to be so much more educated because they don't just walk in the poll and say, okay, this is my first choice. Although, by the way, I do want to make sure people understand, if you want to go in there and just vote for your first choice and not rank the others, absolutely do that. If you really feel so passionately about one person and you don't want to get involved with the ranking, you may do that, but just know that if they fall short, it's going to be a problem if it goes to second, third, fourth, and fifth choices.
Absolutely. Thank you for those reminders, Beth. And we'll make sure to play our new PSA here on BronxNet. We have a PSA about ranked choice voting that is
excellent.
Very informative, and we'll make sure to share that with our viewers right after this segment. But I also wanted to just ask you, Beth, to please just send the message out to our voters 50 plus and the community about the importance of voting and participating in these primary elections coming up on June 22nd.
Well, as I said before, literally, we are going to have a whole new New York City government. 75% of the council seats, but new mayor, new comptroller. We'll end up with a new speaker because the current speaker is terming off. And so the city council members will choose the new speaker for the city council, which is an incredibly important role, the way New York government runs. And then we have the public advocate, which of course we do have an incumbent running on the public advocate line. So we might not have somebody new there.
Right. And finally, Beth, one more time, where can we go to find out more information on the upcoming primary election candidates and more via AARP New York?
Sure. You go to www.aarp.org/votersnyc.
Thank you, Beth, again so much for joining us today and sharing this information.
Really important.
Of course. Beth Finkel is the state director at AARP NY. Just a reminder, primary election day is on June 22nd. Please don't forget and visit aarp.org/votenyc for more information. We'll be right back here on Open BXRX Tuesday. This year, New York City began using ranked choice voting in primary and special elections for local offices, such as mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. Ranked choice voting means that voters can rank up to 5 candidates in order of preference, instead of casting a vote for just one. You can still vote for just one candidate if you prefer. So, how will your ballot look? Your ballot will look the same as always, except now there will be a checkbox with ranking numbers depending on how many candidates there are in a race. So how does it work? If your first choice gets over 50% of votes, they automatically win the race. If none of the candidates get more than 50% of votes on the first round, then the candidate with the least amount of votes gets eliminated, and the votes get recounted again in a second round of counting. Here's an example. Let's rank colors. I like blue the most, so I'm marking it 1. I like purple second, green third, and orange fourth. Okay, my votes are in. Now other votes are counted and the results are as follows. Blue earned 36%, purple earned 27%, green earned 19%, and orange earned 18%. As you can see, none of these colors earned more than 50% of the votes. So the one with the smallest amount of votes gets eliminated. Voters who chose orange as their first choice now have their votes distributed to their second choice. This continues until a candidate receives 50% of the votes and becomes the official winner of the race. That's it. That's ranked choice voting. Ready? Let's vote. Welcome back. With the pandemic putting everything on pause, dancers found a way to keep moving. REDi Dance Company taught the next generation from their living rooms, in parks, and open spaces. Joining us now are Beverly Lopez, founding artistic director, and Genesis Perdomo, dancer at REDi Dance Company. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're so excited. It feels like home. BronxNet is a place that I'm really comfortable with, so I'm happy to be here.
Yes, you're always welcome on our platform, and we're always happy to support you and your platform as well. So first, before we begin, can you tell us about REDi Dance Company and your mission, Beverly?
Yes, so REDi Dance Company is a community of storytellers. We advocate for interpersonal relationships and healing connections. We basically come together, we rehearse, we present dance theater works that fuse house and other social dances, including Latin dances like bachata and salsa. I like to consider us a collective because we all pour into the process. And not only are we just dancers that perform, actors, actresses that perform, but we also provide programs for the community. Genesis Perdomo has been with us since 2017. So I'm grateful for her contribution and just the fact that we get to be a community.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, Beverly. And Genesis, welcome. So I wanted to learn how the pandemic has really affected REDi in particular and dancers like yourself, Genesis. Can you share just in general how the pandemic has affected your movement and your ability to dance?
Yeah, the pandemic has affected me in the sense that I've had to really focus in on what feels good in my body and really just tuning into what I need in every single moment. Dance is very competitive, and often you can kind of lose yourself and lose your essence as a performer, as a person. And so the pandemic has forced me to find movement that that is healing for my body, that isn't exhaustive, that isn't stressful, that just, you know, pours into me and also pours into others as they see me meditating in my movement. So yeah.
I love that. And, you know, as we shared, REDi did transition to virtual workshops and also in parks and gardens. Can you tell me how that experience went and, you know, how it was for you all to transition to this space?
It was pretty exciting. Not only did we do a lot of self-reflection on, you know, what we need to do to stay surviving and rejuvenated, but we also created a junior dance company that is a junior division full with teens who are 12 to 19 years old. We actually initiated this brand new division over Zoom for the startup, had a couple of sessions, intro sessions, and then we transitioned to 3 separate Bronx parks. We had 3 rehearsal processes happening at the same time. Pelham Parkway is one under the 2 train. Another park was Tremont Park, right by Webster. And we had another rehearsal happening in the parking lot of Dream Yard Center. And it was so exciting for the teens to be like, wow, this is a pre-professional space where my work is taken seriously, but also this is a chance for me to reconnect with the adults of REDi Dance Company who we got really comfortable with them throughout our years together, providing the Dance Bridge workshop. And so it was really exciting to begin brand new things, despite the fact that we were in a very still place.
Yeah.
I also started the advisory committee as well as the planning committee during this time. So we were on hold, but we were also moving forward.
Wow. And it sounds, you know, it was just timely for the junior division to kind of get started because a lot of those students were, you know, doing at-home learning or like stuck within the 4 walls. And a lot of the students probably felt liberated by dance and movement. So, you know, thank you for sharing that. Can you each share also how dance is healing and how movement is practicing self-care in and of itself?
Yeah, I guess I'll take that. So movement is healing because we exist within our bodies. And I think that in this day and age, we are so disconnected from our bodies, from other people. And so when we have the opportunity to dance and understand what feels good, to learn how to discipline and find structure within movement, we learn a lot about our habits. We learn a lot about ourselves, about how we relate with others. So yeah, it helps us understand who we are and what we need in this moment and moving forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna share that I personally don't know how to dance, but I move. You know, like I love to move, and I feel like it's something that's just ancestral, like something that has been passed down. That I just feel like moving, and even if to other people it doesn't look like like you know professional dancing, I still love to do it. So you know, thank you for sharing that, and I definitely relate to that. So are your classes for all experience levels and ages, or is it you know just people that know how to dance already? If you can share that.
So we have a public open level workshop for teen artists. And it happens during the DOE school breaks. So it can happen over winter break, summer break, as well as spring break. We just had our virtual spring program late March, and it was a success. 3 days of dancing virtually, having guest artists come in and teach. And also we will be having a summer program as well. And so, yeah, we mainly serve teen dancers whenever we are putting on open workshops. But generally, REDi Dance Company serves the actual core company, the professional sector. We serve adults who just literally want to come into space, connect, and just heal, discuss, workshop ideas, and then put it out to the world.
Right. Thank you. Can you share more about your Dance Bridge workshops for youth, just so you know that our viewers get a little more familiar with the workshops?
Yes. So Dance Bridge is so exciting. It's our favorite time of year. We were doing it biannually. It was a workshop, well, it is a workshop that we currently put on where students are able to spend about 3 to 4 hours with REDi Dance Company. We provide dance training at the top of the morning, and the classes that we provide during that time can be house, bachata, salsa, other social dance forms that get written off as not a technique or not a form where there is technique. And so we empower our youth by bringing forms that are very familiar, but we also bring brand new forms into the space that can be challenging. The point of the morning is to challenge. And then we have a special section towards the end of every workshop day where we literally just choreograph. The main point of Dance Bridge is to empower young people by allowing them to create and initiate for themselves. And what does that mean when your work, your choreography is taken seriously, even if you did it for the first time? And so we'll have like a 4-day process. And at the end of like our week or our weekend, depending on how long the workshop is for a season, there's always a final performance where young people get to perform their own work as well as other things they learned throughout the workshop time. And it's
Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing, Beverly. And is that currently virtual as well, the dance workshop?
So it was virtual for the spring of 2021, and so we're working on making it in person for late August. And if you want more information about the Dance Bridge Workshop, you can follow our IG. It's at Dance Bridge Workshop, or just go to our main company page at REDi Dance Company. So much ways to get info on Dance Bridge and to join.
Yes, definitely stay tuned to those IGs and those posts about those upcoming workshops in person. So you do have an upcoming 2021 benefit. Can you tell us about it and how it will help REDi and all of your workshops and the amazing work that you've been telling us about here today?
Yeah, so there's so much coming up. Like I said, we will be having our August Dance Bridge workshop right in the summer. We also have a rehearsal process that is in session right now with the adult company, the professional sector. And of course, we need to be able to pay our people, pay our artists, right? That is an act of love. If we can pay the people that work and collaborate with you. We also have a junior company rehearsal process that's going to start in September. So basically, this benefit is going to pour money and pour resources and pour love into all of those processes that are coming up just around the corner. So I hope that you can attend the benefit. It's going to be virtual on June 9th at 6:30 p.m. Like I said, visit our benefit page down below, and the benefit page tells you all the details. There's also a live online auction that's happening, so you can bid on services and products from Black and Brown owned businesses. So not only you get to donate, but you might get to win something at the same time. So we encourage you just to attend and just meet us.
Yes, definitely support the REDi Dance Company and by assisting their virtual benefit. And it's beverlylopez.com/2021-benefit. Before we go, Beverly, Genesis, can you share just a little message about the importance of movement and dance, especially during these times for our community as a whole?
Yeah, movement is so vital right now, especially when it feels like movement is limited. We have to like counteract that and make the choice to move within our limited space, like get creative, because it can feel really stifling just to be still so often. But we are creatures that move, that need that for survival. So
thank you so much, Beverly and Genesis, for joining us today and sharing more about REDi Dance. And best of luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you as well. We'll be right back here on Open BXRX Tuesday.
If you're struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311.
Welcome back. How often have you been afraid to be yourself in social and professional settings? Our next guest created a platform to redefine professionalism by empowering authenticity within Latinx communities. Joining us now to share more is Pabel Martinez, founder and CEO of Plurawl. Welcome, Pabel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Claro. So for those who don't know, I gave a little bit of, background of Plurawl, but can you tell us about it and your mission?
Yeah, so Plurawl is a lifestyle brand. As you mentioned, our mission is to redefine professionalism for Latino, Latina, Latinx communities, because the research shows that 3 out of 4 of us in professional settings suppress parts of our identity, whether it's how we speak, how we show up, so many different facets of our identity. And I think it really boils down to, we have been trained to believe, we've been taught that so many parts of our identity aren't professional. So I'm trying to change that.
That is very true. And, thank you for sharing that. How did your own experiences lead to the creation of Plurawl? Can you share?
Yeah, like I said, I've been trained at a young age to be essentially to understand that who I am is unprofessional. I mean, at a very young age, I saw my mom blow drying her hair every morning before going to work because she wanted to be more like her coworkers at work with straight hair. My grandfather told me most mornings, do you see CEOs with beards? Do you see presidents with beards? Do you see them with do-rags, tattoos, sagging their pants? No, right? And I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to protect me from people's negative perceptions. But at the same time, what they were trying to tell me was that who I was unprofessional. And what I should be doing is be more white.
I hear that, because I feel like I've also, encountered those type of things. And now, in my adult age, I find that I'm self-identifying more. I'm like not assimilating as much as I used to. Like your mom, I used to straighten my hair, and now I'm just like, you know what? Let's keep the pajon. No, we're not gonna smell like cabello quemado, hair, burnt and everything, So I love this platform in particular and learning about it, because it's something that so many of us have been faced with. Especially in professional settings, just trying to fit in a box, so, thank you for that. So your platform also sells merch. You have a sweater right now that says fulano, and we all know what that means in our culture. Can you talk to us about the retail side of Plurawl? I want to share that I personally identify as a sinvergüenza. So I love like that, that sinvergüenza merch that you have as well.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, all of the merch has some sort of meaning behind it. And it's all around this idea around professionalism and the conflict that we often face between authenticity and professionalism. Funny enough, the Sinvergüenza merch, that design, it's actually intentionally spelled incorrectly. You'll notice that there's no accent mark on the U. And people trash me online and say like, hey, it's misspelled, like they can't even get this right. And what I actually misspelled it intentionally to explain to people that most of the time we suppress who we are because we're trying to fit in, right? So I intentionally suppressed that accent on the U to open up the conversation, because if it was spelled correctly, I would never be able to have that opportunity to have that conversation around the mission. They'll just buy it because it's cool. So I really want our merch to really open up a dialogue. Another one that's up there is a design of the Yankees with beards. And people are like, why do the Yankees have beards? Is this their quarantine look? And I'm like, nah. Like, people think it's so easy to just be yourself, but what they don't understand is that there are policies in place, literal policies in place at a government level or at a work level that's force us to not be ourselves. The Yankees have this idea of what a professional baseball player is supposed to look like. They don't allow their players to grow facial hair. And it's not just with the Yankees, right? In financial institutions, they don't let you do that. The certain police forces, they don't let you do that. And it's around this idea of what a professional is supposed to look like. But if you look at the definition of professionalism, it's the skill and capacity or aptitude to be a professional. It has nothing to do with what you look like, right? So I'm trying to challenge that stereotype, but also raise awareness for some of these high-level policies that force us to fit into this certain mold.
Wow. So I didn't know about the Yankees thing. And, when they pick up a lot of these young players, these hopefuls from DR sometimes, often, right? Because our culture has so many amazing athletes when it comes to baseball. They see them with their beards. They see them in their natural selves, and they try to just like assimilate. They try to condense them into this box. So that's very interesting. I didn't know about that. So I wanted to ask you what a work persona versus the authentic self is, if you can help us define that for our viewers.
Yeah. It's comical, but also really sad because, I'd say like my most authentic self is when I don't feel the need to censor myself. And when my work persona is, I've gone to the extent of assigning myself homework on the weekends to, instead of listening to Bad Bunny or Jay-Z or watching Insecure, I would force myself to listen to Bruce Springsteen or watch like 3-4 seasons of Riverdale, just to be able to go into work on Monday. And when someone asked me what I do that weekend, I would have something relatable to say.
Wow.
Because how you advance in corporate America, at some level, we all have the same skill set, but how you really advance is building relationships with senior leaders.
Yeah.
So at the very least, like, I just wanted to be accepted in a tech industry, which for the most part isn't that diverse, probably like 5% Latino, Latina, another 5% Black. So I was a chocolate chip in this sort of glass of milk, if you will, right? So I wanted to be accepted so that I can continue moving up in corporate America, because when I was my authentic self, I would receive microaggressions and racism. You know, I didn't hear senior leaders talking about smoking hookah and bottle popping on the weekends, but there's nothing illegal about it. But I would feel ashamed for certain activities that are just culturally representative. Yet these are the same people that go to music festivals and Burning Man and talk openly about popping Molly. So I don't see the difference in it, where one is actually one is illegal, and what I did is just legal, having fun.
That is a fact. And a lot of the times the way we speak is often judged, you know, like the way we talk and the way we represent ourselves in these settings. I've often seen like people question like the way I say things, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're bilingual. It's a skill, you know, so sometimes we put in the little accent every now and then, and that's okay. You know, I don't want people to think, especially the youth, to think that anything is wrong with the way that they speak and the way that they identify and represent themselves. So what is your take on the importance of diversity and inclusivity in the workplace, and how can a company get it right?
Yeah, I think companies need to start it early. You see a lot of companies after they make it big and reach a certain amount of revenue, that's when they start looking back and say, we need to fix things. Like, rather than fix things, I think they need to start early. But I think most importantly is that companies need to stop looking at diversity as a social good and look at it as a business imperative. It is instrumental to companies' success to hire diverse talent. They make the best products. There's so many studies on it driving better performance.
Yeah. Let me find out that Plurawl is going to be a consulting firm for these companies at some point. So what message would you give someone who is struggling with being themselves in a social setting, whether that be working, dating, in friendships, etc.? If, you know, a youth person, somebody young is listening now, or anyone who's just having issues with that.
Yeah, I'd say that everyone has a different definition of authenticity, and it's really important for you to find your definition and what authentic version of yourself you want to portray. And I want people to know that you don't have to do it alone. I'd say one of the best resources that I had that helped me get to where I wanted to be was therapy. I've been in therapy for like 4 years now, and it really helped me understand like so many little situations that happened when I was younger that really helped shape who I am now. But it also helped me communicate my emotions. And that's something that isn't necessarily seen as like a strength in our community, but I've been put in situations where I was labeled as aggressive at work, where I raised my voice in a certain manner. And I had this really interesting conversation with my therapist, and where she was like, were you being loud in that situation? And she was like, and I was like, you know what? I probably was. And she was like, that's okay. You know, people that are loud, that's typically the voice of the unheard, right? I could have easily avoided that situation, and I could have said, hey, teammates or whatever, like, I feel unheard. I would prefer if you all hear me out and take my opinion into consideration, X, Y, and Z. But I feel like we get labeled as aggressive before we can get to the point where we can communicate our emotions and communicate who we want to be seen as for our authentic selves. Most people don't get to that point. They just get to those negative sort of microaggression, racism situations.
Right. And, you know, often the difference between aggression and assertiveness is not defined at work. You know, we just get labeled that and that's it. So you do have a podcast where you talk about many of these things. It's called Quien Tú Eres. What types of topics have you covered on the podcast, and how can people listen to it?
Yeah, the podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple, etc. Again, our mission is to redefine professionalism. And what we do is we really tell stories that go untold around how people in our community navigate authenticity versus professionalism. And when you think about these stories, they really do go untold. When they are told, they typically go anonymous. So I was very intentional about people on my podcast being able to put a face to these stories and also a name to these stories. Because when we think about a lot of these stories told about microaggressions and racism and all of these certain experiences at work, they're told anonymously on platforms like Glassdoor, right? So I wanted to be intentional because when I told people my experience, they thought it was just me. They were like, this will never happen to other people, right? I was like, no, like this is a big problem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I quickly understood why people went anonymous. There was actually, this Fulano shirt was inspired by a guest that wanted to remain anonymous because he feared retaliation from his coworkers.
Wow.
And just him explaining his experience in corporate America. And he just decided to remain anonymous. I honored that fact, but it wasn't something that I thought I would have to deal with going into it. I thought it would just be our personal experiences, but then I quickly realized how fearful we are to talk about some of these because we don't know how our coworkers are going to react. So when you think about diversity, yes, that's one part of the equation, but diversity while inclusion is just a waste of time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Pabel. And, before we go, where can we stay in touch and support Plurawl?
Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram, listen to the Quien Tú Eres podcast, brought to you by Plurawl, wherever you listen to podcasts. And feel free to add me on LinkedIn at Pabel Martinez.
Thank you so much for your time today and for sharing more about your platform. Thank you.
Thanks.
Pabel Martinez is the founder and CEO of Plurawl. Again, you can visit plurawl.com. Is it .com?
Mm-hmm.
All right, plurawl.com and follow @Plurawl on social media. Well, that's all for our show today. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.